I'm starting to think there really is the most important thing about Quest Punk, and it's walking. With a side order of daylight. It's a perfectly nice sweater. What's happening? I just picked up this book, and I swear to God, I did not look at the first page before I made my purchasing decision. I looked at some stuff deeper in. Very, very first, fiction content in this book has the main character who's kind of a David Koresh figure, and he says, "I would smile if I heard that someone, perhaps a madman, perhaps a sane man, burned every single school building in this world to the ground." Don't know if I would agree, but as soon as I read that, okay, this is my kind of book. So there's a fellow named Derek Jensen who writes a lot against civilization, and I've read one book of his that's not about that. It's about his experience teaching. It's called Walking on Water. And I flipped it open in the bookstore, as I always do, and the page that I flipped to said something about how, it's funny, but most people just don't like to think. And I don't understand that. There are lots of reasons not to like Derek Jensen, not the least of which is that he's a gender essentialist and transphobe and thinks that vegetarians aren't real. But seriously, what kind of idiot looks at people who don't like to think and wonders why in this country? I mean, think back to your earliest schooling experiences or even your earliest memories with your parents. You try to figure something out and then you talk about it, and because you're a kid, you probably aren't very good at figuring things out. And whether they want to or not, the teacher or the parent in question ends up making you feel humiliated. And that probably only needs to happen once for most people, for kids, because they're not good at figuring stuff out, to decide, oh yeah, this thinking thing, it's not for me. So I guess it's unfair to blame schools just because they pin us in a room for half of the most salient years of our brains' lives with people who aren't paid enough to particularly care about our outcomes and a whole bunch of kids who are just as dumb as we are. So to me, it's not about anti-intellectualism, it's about the emotional lives of kids. And if something is to be cleansed, symbolically excoriated, I'm not telling you what I would do, I'm just telling you who I am. Now, I've been making a lot of big promises about a lot of big books, and I don't aim to repeat that mistake, but I think I'm going to like this one. When you think you hear sirens, but it's just people yelling, Quest Punk is there.